What is going on, everybody? Hello, hello. Welcome to another Sunday Funday with Darkestnyte. We have a special guest today who I will introduce in a moment. But for those of you who are freaking out about DEC reaching its peg, don't you worry. We're going to cover that all today. And then Darkestnyte's brought some good, juicy controversy as well. So we're going to get into that. But Darkestnyte, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man.
Good. Okay, awesome. I'm going to keep that intro short because people should know you, and if they don't, that's on them. So we're going to move over to Foyet, my friend. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. If you want to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, and then we can dive into more of the topics that I know you want to discuss.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good morning to everyone. So I've started playing Splinterlands in maybe January of 2021. So not as early as Darkestnyte, but So mainly I've just been accumulating assets and reinvesting when the market makes sense and things like that. So
you said January of 2021?
21, yeah.
Okay, all right. So right before the big boom. Actually, you got
No,
started
it's after, isn't it?
Yeah. It's after. I came in right at the inflection point.
Wait, when was the inflection point? Wasn't that last summer? Wasn't that summer of 2021?
Yeah, that was when it hit the peak.
Okay.
But the initial, I would say.
Okay. So you saw the wave that was coming. You saw the wave that was Axie Infinity in gaming.
Yeah. So I was part of the Axie Infinity investor. I bought a bunch and had some scholars, and I kind of built the whole piece. And I was researching other games to kind of similar, because I think I believe in the future of the DeFi and the gaming, the NFT world, and I think there's a lot of value that can be added in that space. So I essentially am looking for three components when I'm looking at games. Well, one is art. I'm looking for games that art has the highest historical return of any investment. High-end arts, and then technology, which embodies the Nasdaq and the various components that go into that has historically potentially the second highest return. And then the other is utility. One of the great utility of mankind is finance, decentralized finance. And as we look at how banking, SWIFT, and the whole economy, there's change. We don't know when. It's maybe moving in small pods here and there. It's an incremental change. So I'm looking for attributes that exhibit that, and I think DeFi game is a potential. And then I was researching. That's where they high blockchain and Splinterlands, and I put a little more thought into that. And then as the whole thing that all of this, and as we talk about the proposals and things like that, I'll kind of quote Luthien a little bit. This is kind of like a turd moment for Splinterlands and the various ecosystems that could go into that. So one of the first turd moment, it's really pegging DEC and allowing the value for DEC to be able to print SPS. So the initial airdrop that led to the whole thing, and then now it's like, how can we fix it and what can we do? So it's just throwing a series of and this may run until January, February. We don't know. We don't know what Matt's plans are and what Pluck's trying to do and all that stuff. But essentially, there's going to be, I don't even know how many proposals that's going to fix all of these things that what's been caused by the original DEC ratio.
Well,
go
ahead, Darkestnyte.
It's interesting. You made a comment that one of the best gifts of mankind, or I'm paraphrasing, but finance. I often refer to, and I've heard other people say this too, is that crypto is a once in like 1,000-year technology, right? And the things that we are developing now will, take us into really the next 1,000 years. So they say, if we do it right.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you on the importance of the, crypto and DeFi for sure.
Yeah, and if we look at the history of our humanity, documented history by books like *Sapien*, things like that, the 10,000 years or so, we look at what we're facing now in terms of the reserve currency. Historically, reserve currency has always been won by blood, war. And the dominant country always been the one that created and established the reserve currency in the United States post World War II. Under the Marshall Plan and everything, it was the U.S. became the reserve currency, and then now crypto brings an interesting evolution, and I think Bitcoin is a good example, but it's not the best example for what would transcend humanity in terms of challenging the reserve currency, but I think the ultimate overriding thesis is, can a reserve currency be modified by non-war?
That's going to be an interesting thought experiment there.
Yeah, and the concept of decentralization, which Bitcoin embodies three components that gives it ultimate value. One is it's fixed at 21 million, and the other is it's probably the most decentralized currency we have to date. And with that, it's arguably the most secure currency. It's like Vitalik and others talk about having Ethereum, when it was originally founded, was the original proof of stake already, but they went with proof of work because it's a known, it's proven, it's already out there. It's always Vitalik's goal to move it to a proof of stake, and it's as he kind of adds to the network effect, it became harder and harder to move into from proof of work to proof of stake, and it's taken many of these bridges, and it's gone through its iteration. And the other third component of Bitcoin is that the governments of the world can actually back using Bitcoin to back a small component. They're never going to back a huge component, like El Salvador tried it, and others, as we see over time, right? And it's just like gold. You get to the point where there's gonna be an upper limit that no one's going to pay above that, because it doesn't make sense, right? There's, you have the Lightning Network, you have a lot of other things that we can argue all and debate and have.
We will.
Really huge intellectual conversation over the valuation and how we quantitatively, from a macro perspective, raise the enterprise value for what Bitcoin is, and then we can look at a parallel chain. We can look at Ethereum, a derivative. So you look at one, Ethereum is the largest derivative outside of the whole non-earthly, real world piece, the virtual digital derivative.
Yep. So I now have a question for you. It's going to be Splinterlands related. Have we ever played against each other before? Well, what are you playing?
I played After Sound.
Okay.
Have you beaten me?
He's one win ahead of me, I think.
I'm one win ahead. That might not even be me now. I got the Archmage thing back on my.
Yeah, and I use Splintermates.
How are you?
Oh, we got to talk about that.
Because part of it is, I didn't like their the white paper of Splex. I just didn't like the fact that.
Well, Archmage is different from Splex, so I just want to make sure we.
Well, Archmage essentially they're being sold under the Splex. So they have different. They have the alpha, beta. They have different tranches releases, which is not good. And then the tokenomics behind how they derived it, and the percentage, the increment, like 35%. There's a lot. So essentially, if you don't have a diamond account, it's just not worth it.
So I just looked at your account. So you're in YGG.
Yes.
Nice, because After Sound and I were just talking about YGG before we got on. We might be the third YGG. There's two that's better than us, I think.
Which YGG?
I'm in Legion.
Legion, okay. Actually, I don't think I know anybody in Legion aside from you now.
Yeah, I think we're in the top 43, 45-ish, depending on,
I feel like...
Go ahead, Darkestnyte.
I was saying, do you want to just bring him into the context of the conversation? Because it's around, I think, what we want to talk about, right? Pack burnings and things like that.
Yeah, we can jump straight into that.
Proposal by proposal. This is kind of like, to quote Luthien, these are turd moments that Splinterlands is trying to plug and fix the original problem.
Yep.
Okay, so hold on. Let's just say hi to folks who are here. So Dennis is in the house. We got Leandro, Andrew, good morning. Tim Hendricks, good morning. Harris, good morning. International Travel Channel, let's go. All right, so just want to do a quick round to recognize folks here. So what are we doing? Are we going over proposals now?
Well, so I mean, again, because it's YG, a representative of YGG, and I made a very
bold
statement.
I'm not a.
So it's cool. It's cool.
YGG is huge, though. So
it is huge, and that's why we were talking about it, right? So one of the things is we've been talking about is the pack burning proposal, right? It looks like it's going to pass, right? And so by March, the end of March, we're going to be done with Chaos Legion, regardless of how many we sell. So the question is, what is the response of Wales, right? And then I mean, again, are Wales going to come in and buy up all the Chaos Legion? And one of the specific names when we were talking about this is, I said, hey, YGG could come in and just snap up everything, right? Or maybe not just them, but maybe another whale, and maybe there are 3 or 4 groups that just grab it all as a long-term hold. Like, what do you think about that?
So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Federal Reserve System of the United States, and we can look at since Alexander Hamilton implemented, and J.P. Morgan, and the current Powell under the Powell regime. But the single most powerful weapon the Federal Reserve has is the threat, right? So what this is embodies that. What Matt and Pluck and the kind of the Dow core team, what they have is the threat. And when Matt, it doesn't have to be a positive vote. We don't have to vote yes, and it doesn't have to pass. And the whole idea is just the threat, right? You throw it out there.
The threat of burning packs?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah. So what happens is when you start to look at that, people start to think. We think differently. We're human beings, right? Mm-hmm. We're irrational people in some ways, and in many ways we're rational people. And so when we think a little bit deeper into this, it's just the threat of burning. Then we think, oh, okay, what Matt and Agro, what they just kind of throw up is this timeline, which is no different than what their future path is going to be for Rebellion and TD and others, right? So it's just that it's saying, okay, we got a schedule now. We're going to put it on a schedule, and it's up to you. And we can even go to the other extreme where in the future they can say there's no number. We're just going to say you buy as many as you want. Here's the end date, right? And here's where the minting sequence. We're going to mint on these dates. And, so you can go way the other extreme too. But I don't
think they would ever do that. That's kind of out of line with every other set, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. But I'm just throwing out there what can be. So what they're doing is just meeting at a halfway mark, where they're just saying, and I think, so for the health of the game and the economy, I mean, selfishly, I wish, I haven't maxed out my Chaos Legion packs. And I just wish that, we didn't have to come to this because I would like to, because it's cheaper. It's $4 and everyone's going to be 5, 6 plus vouchers and other things that we can add on to it. So from a selfish perspective, I wish, but for the community and the game to be able to thrive, they have to burn it. There's just too many 15 million.
So you're actually in favor of them burning it?
Oh yeah, they have no choice. This is again, like all of these votes. I'm shocked, like these whales that people vote against it, because I don't think they understand.
I voted against it.
They're not. So I look at these as part of unintended consequences of the first DEC where the SPS airdrop. So everything has been to fix the unintended consequences, and we look at things in life as long as things are non-irrevocable. You can fix it, and this is one of those moments, and just the mere threat of it will cause people to just wait and
panic
see
buy.
Yeah.
No, I mean I agree with that. Again, just the threat that they're even considering it. I'm sure. I mean, all of a sudden I started turning whatever capital I had into the game or in the game back into, okay, let me level up my cards now, or at least the cards that I want to focus on, right? So, if that had a minor impact on me, I'm sure it had minor to major impacts for everybody else. It's like, oh shoot, if these are going to be running out soon, then it's gonna change that behavior across the entire ecosystem. But my question is, like, and the reason that I voted against it is because unless the team is like in a rush to get to the next set for whatever reason, I don't see anything wrong with, like, if they didn't put this in, do you let me ask this: if they did not put cast or the burn proposal, do you think that we would have sold out by March 31st anyway?
No.
Really? Okay.
There's going to be probably $1 million pack difference probably, and I think also first and foremost, we have to recognize this is a for-profit endeavor, for-profit entity, and in order for the game itself to survive, the company itself has to survive. So in order for the company to survive and be in a healthy state, is that they have to produce packs. And this is kind of the iteration of producing the modern wild set and building that 2-year piece. Otherwise, without the differences between the two leagues, and God knows, other leagues that will be created in the future. Yeah. But without having this set, no one's going to continue without having the modern payout better than the wild. No one's going to invest in modern. No new player would come in. They'll just kind of, because people, you're going to get smarter people, and this is a card game, TCG, and so you're going to get people who will analyze this, and they're going to make the correct optimal play. It's kind of like poker, right? You're going to get a lot of people who go to those 1-2 tables, and they'll just they'll just contribute to it. But as you get higher and higher, and as the cost to buy in gets higher, they're going to make the correct optimal play.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with that. Yeah.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. I just want to say for folks here, Foyet and I had never spoken before this call. We had brief texts or back and forth on Discord where we got introduced earlier this week, and this conversation is already incredibly fascinating. So I'm glad you're here, my friend. Because it's fun. I feel like I can go deep on the macro with you, and Darkestnyte can go deep on the Splinterlet stuff with you. So let's focus on the Splinterlet stuff, because I know people are very interested in that. So all right, we got your thoughts on the daily burn of Chaos Legion packs. Now my question or follow-up is, when we do hit like some critical threshold, right? And this is what Darkestnyte I think was trying to get to. Like where is that critical threshold of people potentially, and this is why he brought up YGG, right? Because at some point we will hit an area in which somebody smarter with the right analytics is going to say, let me go in and buy at this amount and essentially wipe the store clean. And I think that's what YGG did a year plus ago, right? When they essentially bought all of Untamed, they bought the last region, all the different things. So how do you see the next, we'll call it 4.5 months playing out between now and the end of March? And again, you don't have to give a prediction, but just kind of like, how do you see this impact the proposals that they have, the future potential proposals, since you mentioned that they're going to keep iterating and trying to put band-aids on, where do you see this playing out?
I think it just depends on the economy. We're in a bear market, and I think Aggro, Matt, and the team, they're doing the best they can to try to steer the ship in a way that they can not only, I would say, accretively, add to their enterprise value in terms of Splinterlands, the company, in terms of diversifying into different portfolio of offerings, and it could include other services and things like that. And this is where the interesting part about the Rooney piece and how it can truly affect Splinterlands, the company itself. And so I think it just depends on the economy. If the economy is moving, if Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the other crypto, and I think it makes, to me, putting this out there, knowing that there's an end date, and looking at, and I think if I'm a guild owner where I have a certain excess in capital, working capital, I would wait until towards kind of the maybe mid-March timeframe, and then I would assess, okay, and it's kind of like whales coming in, picking up these Roonies at the floor price, right? It's kind of like that. So what I would do from an econometrics modeling perspective is I would wait until towards the end of March, and I would say, okay, do I maybe take a stab at negotiating directly with Aggro for some kind of discount for the remaining piece and see what that comes up with? And then maybe I overlay it with, okay, what happens if, this all depends on how many packs are left come that point. And then I would say, okay, what is my return if I bought half of the remaining pack? what's my return if I bought 60, and I would create a little Excel spreadsheet, a little pivot table modeling, and I would just plug in, and I would say, okay, if I were to buy this amenity at this discounted rate, and this is what, can I go back to aggro and say, can you give me, another 5 basis point on it, so that I could just pick up the remaining portion of it? Is that to your advantage on your financial bottom line for you to give you that discount? And it's all about negotiation at that point.
Well, I mean, any pack sold is better than burning for them, right? Because it's all considered company revenue. So even if they're like taking 90% of something is better than 0% of everything.
Yeah, and I think the other surprising piece is that, and there's no way for us to, without putting up a proposal or having direct conversation with Matt on this, is to have the DAO itself buy a small amount. I think even like 10,000 packs or something like that. I know DAO doesn't have much money in it right now, but just picking up a little bit, knowing that you're already going to get value when Rebellion comes out.
You know what I would love, and I don't think I've said this anywhere, but if somebody wants to back it and throw it in there, I love the idea of the DAO buying packs, because that period between Rebellion, or Chaos Legion and Rebellion, they wanted to be around 3 months, and they're saying that there's going to be no packs in reserve for the what's that called, rewards. But I feel like that would help for a lot of new players coming in during that time. Sure, you can't buy packs from the store, but players just love packs, and it'd be nice for them to be able to still win it at that point in time. So I don't know if there's a way to like do a proposal, maybe not for the DAO to buy packs, but for somebody to buy the packs and set it aside as rewards for that time period. And I think they said it's like 25,000 per season that they generally give away. So it's not like a large amount, right? That's about 50K a month. So it's like 150,000 packs, which again, in the grand scheme of things, it's a large number. But when you compare it to the 4.5 million we have left, I feel like that could be something worth having for newer players. Because this is my thing with the whole burning. Like, we're in a bear market. It's already difficult to get new players. And then you want to get to that period where it's going to be difficult for players to get them because prices start going up. And I know human psychology is very different. Like, when they see prices start to go up, then all of a sudden they want to get in. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that's just setting up for a mini kind of boom and bust from what we had last year.
So what do you need new players for? Go ahead.
Yeah. So my question to you is, as an individual, what would be your strategy for the next 6 months? What would be your specific plan outside of the guild?
Yeah. So it's so my whole strategy is over the next 4 or so years, kind of part of the white paper cycle, is to accumulate. So I kind of look at investing kind of like the way Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio and those guys, where they ask the overriding macro thesis question, which is, are there better investments out there than what you're currently looking at, right? So a lot of people sell, but in the history of investing, how people create trillions, billions of dollars of wealth and generational wealth, like the Rothschilds, all the way up to the current modern family. It's like you look at it. Are there better placements for you? So in terms of, I looked at why I migrated a large portion of my holdings. I diversified from Axie, was that Axie's thesis changed, the founders changed, and their behavior pattern changes. They weren't consistently producing the same products, and they just made too much money in a very short period of time. Those guys had hundreds of millions of dollars, and they just no longer cared about the community. So in a game like ours, community is paramount. Community is important. So I think from my perspective, Splinterland still represents the preeminent investment out of all the gaming sectors, right? There's no single, like when you look at the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So when you look at the traditional Web 2 games, the Microsofts of the world, and then you look at Gala, and you look at Immutable, you look at those are like 2.1 And you look at Axie, they're like 2.2, and then you look at Splinterlands, they're about 2.5, right?
Yeah.
They're not a complete Web3, because in order for a gaming company to be complete Web3 is you have to be born out of the DAO. So you have to take money and create a DAO, and you have to charter the DAO. You have to domicile it somewhere, wherever, and you have to have rules, right? You have to have process built in. So it has to be incubated directly from a DAO. So I think Splinterland's like 2.5, and
they're trying to transition there, though. Do you think they can get there eventually?
they can get to 2.5. Yeah, sure.
Well, are you saying that they're at 2.5 now, or they're going towards 2.5?
At best, they'll achieve is 2.5, given the roadmap, given all the documentation,
Interesting. Okay.
given everything that they've shared with us so far in terms of the macro. And there's nothing wrong, because achieving 2.5 is an astronomical achievement.
Yeah. Okay. I guess there's no way for them to hit 3.0 because they didn't start
Correct.
as a decentralized organization.
Now, having said that, so the one day Matt and Agro and Dennis and others may sit around and say, hey guys, why don't we just do a full Web3, and why don't we just put up money, and we're just going to relaunch a DAO. Whoever wants to contribute to it, they buy in, and this is the theory. And because when you look at the ownership, the intellectual capital of Splinterlands, when you kind of parse it all out, the DAO owns very little of that piece.
Yeah.
DEC is owned by Splinterlands, the company. So you have the stable coin. This is why I'm just shocked it's taken the Splinterlands team so long to, maybe they've seen it, they just didn't know how to move to becoming an algorithmic stable coin. When you look at the success of games like the Web2 games, you always tie the US reserve currency to a product. You always tie a stable coin to a product, because a product is the only thing that the game has of value that you can stack. It's an infinite gain, right? And when you look at like velocity of money, when you look at the US dollar, when you write your name on an aftersound on a US dollar, when you look at how many hands it turns over before it comes back to you, that's the velocity of money. When you look at DEC, it's the same way. It's no different, the velocity of DEC. So it has to have that stable piece. And I think the arbitrage thing is nice with where you can burn SPS when it makes sense. How many people will do it? I'm sure there's going to be enough that will be, they have to be quick, but you can turn around and arbitrage it. And especially if you're using a computer, you can do it a little bit faster.
Awesome.
So you're saying that it's taken them this long, and they're still not quite there yet. And I actually don't think that DEC is gonna stay at peg now. So
No way.
So I'm just curious, what are some of the ways in which they could have, like in your opinion, tried to attack it better, or is it just that it took too long for them to really address it even?
Yeah, and I don't know them. I've never talked to them. So that, I think what it is you kind of have to look at how many things you can. So you have sinks and faucets, right? We know the faucets have to turn off on some of these things, and then the other is how these sinks, right? How many things are they gonna say that they can use? So DEC has to be pervasively used in the entire ecosystem as a stable coin for the enjoyment of the game and its player base. There's no way around it. I mean, these whales can downvote and they can do whatever, but they can't. They think of it for land to survive, right? There has to be, just like any Web 2 game, is that you use the US dollar. So when you take a land product, you take wood or stone, and you're trying to convert the ratio, how many wood to stone, right? You don't add a intermediary layer called US dollar or DEC to it. It's all invisible. And in order for that to be invisible, it has to be stable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still think we're pretty far away from getting it stable.
Oh yeah, there will be arbitrage. There will people.
Yeah.
It'll swing pretty wildly for a while.
What do you think is causing the pump right now?
Oh, it's just the threat again. Matt is saying it's the biggest weapon Matt has, just like any of the Federal Reserve guys.
Interesting. All right, hold up. Let's catch up on some of the chat here, because I think some folks got some good questions we can jump into. So Liberty Guy saying we need to switch to privacy coins like Monero, stop supporting the beast system fiat currencies. Yeah, Monero's cool. I don't have any, but Virus is in the house. What's going on, Virus? So Chuni's saying, will DEC hit peg by the end of the week? And if so, will you sell it when it does? I'm selling soon. I need to make a video on that. But
when you say you're selling, you're converting DEC to another product?
Yeah, or I mean USD at that point. So the way that I'm viewing it now is I don't think whatever pump is happening is sustainable. I think it's a very much buy the rumor, sell the news event. We're just waiting to hear about Lux Vega. We're waiting to see how these proposals shake out. So as it stands right now, we're at 0.00091, so we're about 10% away from peg. I have some capital in the LPs, for example, right? So if I were to pull that out now, convert it all to BUSD.
So what's your cost basis? How many basis points do you have to pay to convert it to the Binance?
I think it's 0.17% is the fee, 17 basis points.
Yeah, so if you do this, let's say for orders of magnitude perspective, right? You do the velocity on it. You enumerate it. How many times are you going to transact that? And if you add up,
that'd be twice. But yeah.
Well, let's just say you're going to play the game for the next 4 years, 3 years, 2 years.
Okay.
So you're doing this velocity of transaction. You're essentially creating an arbitrage flywheel, right? So when you do this and you add all that stuff, I doubt you'll be profitable.
Well, I guess what I haven't calculated is like where I would expect or want DEC to go back down to, right? Because if I'm swapping back to USD, then the upside that I'm missing out on is about a 5% gain because I'm half and half DEC and BUSD, and that's fine because I don't know where we drop to, but I just don't think it's sustainable. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the fees are something that I should definitely factor in.
Yeah, fees will always eat. That's why people don't really, that's why billionaires hardly trade.
So you would recommend just staying in it and riding it out?
Yeah, I think that the better question, and this is the beauty of the Hive system, right? You throw high powered and you get free trade, right? There's no transaction cost.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty is you can actually mathematically equate your cost basis based on the high power.
Well, so the problem is that I wouldn't be doing this transaction on Hive. I'd be doing it on Binance. So yeah, and so they don't have a good pool on Hive for that.
Yeah. So when you bridge out of another layer one ecosystem, the transaction costs will eat you over the years. You'll never recover it, no matter how small it is. I learned this from Axie. Even the Ronin bridge, I look at it every day. Right, I collect the fees are just astronomical, even on the Ronin bridge, even as little.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. But I wouldn't be transferring back into game. Like I think I would just keep everything.
You would. You would eventually, something would motivate you. This is the game, right? Matt's whole purpose is to make you addicted to the game, right?
Yeah.
So you're always going to add. When you look at your history of your investment,
fine, you're right.
So I'll give you an example, right? If you were to look at it, this is Agro's point, right? Are you doing more or less, right? So if you ask yourself every 3 months and you look at your portfolio, your in-game portfolio, are you doing more or less, right? How many players can realistically say that has spent, I would say, more than $10,000 in the game, can say they've done less every 3 months increment in this game?
I know I haven't.
I haven't come across one.
Well, sorry, I'm a little slow this morning. What's the base point that you're trying to get at? That the longer you stay in the game, the better it is?
It means you can't escape.
Oh, you can't escape.
There is no escape. There is no escape for you.
Yeah. Okay. So, you're talking about spending. Okay. So yeah, definitely spending more.
Yes. So whether you take it out of your fiat credit card, PayPal, and you dump it back into it, there's an inherent cost basis that hits your flywheel and your overall transactional cost. You'll never overcome long term. It's like gambling with the house. This is why you rather own the casino than be the player, because to take the vig is a lot easier.
So. What? Let's skip to the end here now. I'm curious if that's your viewpoint on it, which I think is valid when placed in that context. What's your exit strategy, or is this just the game?
So my whole goal is I hope that Splinterlands will be a unique product, a unique company where we can actually transact in the real world. So an example is this is the beauty of creating a DEC stablecoin, is that eventually there will be credit card products that we can partner with, and hopefully Matt and the team will see that as the number of the economy grows within Splinterlands. They'll partner with credit card companies where now you can actually buy a credit card product that you know is completely tied to a US dollar with the DEC that's pegged there, and you can actually just pay with DEC. So that would be one.
That'd be nice. Yeah, no.
That would be one, right? So this is the beauty why banks have hemorrhage over the whole crypto piece, is that when you look at the challenge within the SWIFT banking system and how, banks is all about friction, right? Banks make their money from friction. Every time they cause you friction. And when you look at crypto is a very expensive friction. It's the most friction. There's more friction than banks, right? When you look at fees and what the Hive engine, and, we can look at security of Hive and how it grows, and, latency and all that other piece that goes into it, and decentralized. But outside of that, when you look at the financial and how the velocity of the free transaction, and when you enumerate think of how many times you click on, when you go into the Splinterland games and you click collect the SPS, think of how many times you trade cards, move in and out of that. Think of all that, and these are all transactions that you have no fees assigned to it outside of, you just have to say, okay, I throw another $50 into my Hive power, right? It's annoying, yes, but okay, I'll throw it.
But it's worth it, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, if we can just backtrack for a second, because I'm curious. What is your crypto origin story, and then how, if you can take us from how you got started in crypto in general, and then how that led to Hive, and what your thoughts are on Hive now versus the rest of the options out there.
Yeah, so all of it always starts from Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the father, and so
what's funny? I think in 2021 that changed, though. I think for a lot of people it was Dogecoin in 2021.
To some extent, you're correct.
But yeah,
and so the beauty of Dogecoin was what Elon is doing with Twitter, right? So you add Twitter plus Dogecoin, and you add 6 other apps, then it becomes a WeChat. So then it's so that $44 billion, you can argue 25, whatever, but it's no longer. It's now you're talking about $1 trillion product.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you there. If you can go back to your Bitcoin origin story.
Yeah. So I think virtually everyone starts with Bitcoin. That was part of the original people. They either transact Bitcoin, they meet someone at McDonald's or something, and they just kind of do it. They're the laptop transaction, how they buy and sell Bitcoin and things like that. And then it went on the exchanges, and so we all have our fair share of stories of how many. How many Bitcoin we threw away, some threw away and some lost it in garbage dumpsters and drives and things like that. So and then Vitalik wrote the Ethereum white paper, and I was fascinated by his thinking, because I always knew that derivatives make up the vast majority of the ecosystem, the monetary piece of our world, and without derivatives it can't succeed, and Ethereum was a derivative. And we can argue and look at how Charles at Cardano and Solana and some of the others, how they can kind of morph and modify, and what's your value position.
They're all just taking different
roads. So all of it, then Ethereum became so expensive, gas fees and things like that, and then you have people who were the original Bitcoin and Ethereum holders that made their money, so gas fee wasn't relevant. They could pay $500 in gas fee. It wasn't relevant because Ethereum was just going up so much, right? It just became a non-starter. And then you have Axie, and Axie, a lot of people from the Philippines were complaining about the transaction, so they created the Ronin bridge sidechain to and then you have Polygon, you have these EVMs, you have all these the various components that go into that contribute to the EVM network. And then I started talking about looking at Hive engine and looking at how it could be. I mean, you have a Phantasm, you have Sol, you have a lot of other bridge that don't really cost, but then it's like, what's your unique proposition. What are they doing from a macro that would affect the value proposition and at an enterprise at a macro level? What can they do to the gamer? And then so you look at it, you're like, okay, Hive's unknown. Hive's they hard forked from Steam. They did all of this. We don't definitively know about their security posture. We don't know how decentralized it is, how many people, and we can talk about that when it comes to the nodes, the current node process, and why Matt's trying to finally sell the nodes in DEC. It's because in order for a node to be more secure, it's more decentralized. And then you always look at you look at maximum extractable value. Like a lot of these current node holders within the Splinterlands community, they don't realize once, if their personal computer running this, it's not running 24/7, right? You lose certain you lose a certain amount of SPS, and then you lose a certain amount out of, and then eventually, Splinterlands will probably be essentially 5 data centers that's going to hold these nodes, and you're just going to give your nodes to them because you're not going to reach that maximum extractable value. And then there's slashing risk and things like that.
Well, so the thing is, if the risk exists on layer 1, then what's the whole point of it's like, I mean, we're going through the node process now, but if there's still significant risk or unidentified risk on layer 1, which is Hive, does that not scare you just a little bit?
No, because you always look at asymmetric return, right? You want your return to be asymmetric when you're looking at, it's like investing in the .com, the internet days, right? When you put in certain money into, or even in the Bill Gates days, right? When he's pitching this OS, right? You're looking at products that you're going to put in a certain amount of your money into an asymmetric return, and you hope that Splinterlands will embody that asymmetric return. So from a risk standpoint, it's probably worth it, right? Hive being a certain risk, Hive, their marketing process is a little bit different than some of the other L1s, and their monetary policy is a little bit different, but they provide a lot of unique things like the Hive blogging mechanisms. You have a lot of different ways that they're trying to, and also I think the whole macro view that Agro has for it's just his life in general, like how he's going to live his life and how he's going to build this whole ecosystem. I think there's a lot of really tremendous things to say about Agro, in that vein. He brings so many good things, so many positives, that I think even the little screw ups or these turn moments or these things, I think you kind of have to just say, okay, you just chalk it up as a human error. We're human beings, and they're trying their best to fix it.
I agree. I have a lot of respect and admiration for Aggie, even when I disagree fundamentally with him on certain things, right?
We will.
Yeah, and I feel like what he's trying to build, and it gets him into trouble a lot, because I don't think people fully understand like the scope of what he's trying to build is cool, unique, and very innovative, right? Like, and this always comes back down to like
building a Web 2.5.
No, it's not. Because it always comes back down to bots, right? That's the easy like low hanging fruit that people can get them for.
But the secret is the bots will be the secret.
What do you mean?
So, in order for humanity and in order for crypto to kind of move forward in large tranches, will be the bots, because you'll reach a point where human beings, we cease to produce at a certain rate, right? Our production, we have fewer kids, and we have limitations. We're human beings, we're limited, right?
Yeah.
So bots create a fantastic opportunity to be replacement, and some maybe AI, and you have different types of you have general and specific AI, right? Maybe at some point the general AI will overcome the enumeration and combinations of certain,
let's hope not. That's Skynet, isn't it?
Who knows, right? We don't know, but what we're talking about here is specific AIs, right? We're talking about very specific AIs, and we're talking about in a way that the use cases, and a lot of these bot farms, bot owners, they're experimenting just like Matt. They don't know. They're taking their own risk. Like they're throwing up. Yeah, granted, if they were part of the OG bot days, God, man, they just do it $5,000 and boom, they're minting that every 3 weeks, right, or whatever. They're getting that return, and Matt's shutting off as many as he can to kind of make it into a level playing field. I think that the concept that people are just arguing, and they're basically discrediting and not giving bots enough contribution from an ecumenical perspective to this community.
Well, again, this is why I guess from a competitive gaming standpoint, like I am not bullish on like rank rewards at all, and I think if you followed any of the stuff at Splinterfest,
what was the purpose of rank rewards?
People are just calling it a DeFi farming platform now.
But what is the purpose of rank rewards?
It was a carrot to get you to keep on playing, I think.
And what else?
Oh, this is the first time I've ever been quizzed on this. I don't know. Tell me.
Why do you play for rank reward?
Is it an introductory phase to the game? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the lowest economic value that anyone can experience within the Splinterlands ecosystem.
Okay.
Yep.
And the first introduction into getting paid to play a game, right?
Correct.
So normally it was zero, right?
Yep.
You have the investment in time.
Yep.
Then now you're actually getting paid for that use of time.
Correct. Yeah, and people argue and they say the player experience isn't there, but really, realistically, it's like, look at the OG days, the player experience. Those guys. Look at Darkestnyte. He probably waited like 50 seconds or 2 minutes, or just waiting on the screen for, for someone to join, and then and then you have the second permutation. You have these bots scraping. They're like, okay, they have Darkestnyte. Let's look at his account. Let's analyze, what is he playing.
Yeah.
Let's put up like the optimal deck to counter his.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have that
we were just talking about this prior to getting on, and I asked the question to AfterSound, like, why do we play every day, right? And I think there's different motivations for different people. Right. I play because I love seeing the icon of me reaching champion, right? But what does that champion icon means? To me, it means that I've invested money, right? Some assets to get the assets that I'm playing with, but also a recognition of how much time I've invested for basically everyone to be able to see, right?
Proof of skill too. That's the last one.
Money, a little bit of proof of skill, but not much. Right. You have to think rank play exemplifies the lowest proof of skill.
Right. It does. Yeah, especially since our bots can now do it for us.
Yes, and it's just a way for us to learn the game. We get paid a little bit to learn the game, and there's always a certain amount of money that's going to be thrown into it because it's just motivation. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't practice. Yeah, and ultimately, we have to look at higher. And there will be other modules, other products that come. Brawls will be one, tournaments, and then there will be variations of those aspects of the community. And there's other gameplays. There's tower defense, and then there's going to be other things that they come up with. And I don't want to throw anything in their way, but yeah.
No, great points. Sorry, Darkestnyte, you got something?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've been playing this game. So I've only played 1 month longer than you. You said January 2021, correct?
Yeah, but I wasn't really a good investor because, like, to give you an example, if I knew what LAN is now and I had put the intellectual capital thought into it, I was so obsessed with like Axie LAN and some of the other. I was just totally blinded. Like, if I knew that, I would probably just throw in $100,000 into buying plot of land back then, like when it was $10.
Yeah.
If I really like, so I think one of the downside for me is like one of the takeaway was I just didn't study the game early enough. I just didn't really understand. I know I got those emails from Agros, those gold, I got a lot of those, but none of it jumped out at me to, and I know they tried some partnerships with Wax and some various partnerships, but I just never, like, nothing jumped out at me to say that this game was unique until the whole SPS thing that made me sit back and think about, okay, how does the landscape look? And by then, land and things like that were kind of going up, and then I had to change my strategy on land at that point.
Yeah. I bumped into land by accident, right? So there was
Did
so
you win
much
one in the mystery chest or
I
something?
won two.
Oh yeah, they
I
were
won
giving it
two.
away, and
Yeah.
I never even won one from those either.
Yeah, I didn't
Incredible.
even know what it was, right? I was like, land. And then I looked, I said, well, how do I use this land? And I couldn't find anything. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's just in my wallet. And okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Darkestnyte's
And
like, how do I use this land? And 2 years later, he's still asking, how do I
I'm
use this
still asking.
land?
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, the
So-
beauty of LAN is it forced the entire Splinterlands team to work together. And
Mhm.
I think there's no single product within Splinterlands that forced the entire team to work together. LAN is one of those products.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, right? I mean, to be able to have a digital real estate, right? That was a great concept back then. But back in, so I started in December 2020, and I just looked at the game as a replacement for Magic the Gathering, right?
Yep.
And that was it, right? So I was like, hey, this is a fun game. And I never really expected to make a whole lot of money. I was just new into crypto, right? So I was like, oh, I can play a game and get paid for it. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that.
Mhm.
And that was, for me, that was it, right? 2 years later, I'm like, okay, do I really need to get a return on my investment right now? I don't really care so much during a bear market, right? But I know I will the next bull run, right? So that's kind of what we're waiting and playing at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And now within not just within the Splinterlands asset or the community itself, I now look at DeFi gaming completely different. I try to actually put a little bit more thought into some of these newer games and try to figure out and project out if I'm the developer or if I'm co-creating, or what kind of things can I do to increase the velocity, right? The amount of money it takes and how much. And this is why, like games like Illuvium, for instance, I'm not really that crazy about it because it just costs so much. There's just so much, and there's so little return on it. And
we don't talk about
I
the
just look at,
here.
yeah.
Darkestnyte got burned by Illuvium, so it's the game that must not be named.
And also, like, I think if people kind of missed what Matt is trying to achieve, they're not trying to achieve a web AAA game within Splinterlands. It's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to create the best DeFi game product possible, and that's what we have to grade them by.
Yeah, when people talk about AAA, even within the team, like to me, that's like a decade out, right? I feel like you need a couple of boom bust cycles in order to really get the capital and then the player base and the IP to get out there. But you know, it'd be cool if they get there.
I'm looking at your collection for you.
All right, okay. While you're looking at the collection, let me catch up on some of the chat here because we're so far behind. So sorry, guys, I'm getting lost in the conversation.
I have different accounts, but yeah, I think that's the one I primarily use.
What's
Yeah,
going
you
on,
like to
butters?
brawl. That's the first thing. Sorry, go.
No, all right. Junie's saying level up your summoners. The game is more of a DeFi platform. Yeah, I don't disagree, or at least a lot of people are treating it that way. So Harris is saying they should release 1 million packs a month, then burn what's left at the end of the month. Maybe, I don't know. That could be an interesting way for them to do it if they say it from the start. Kazark is here. All right, I know some of you guys are just talking to one another. So Chuni's saying, can you please talk in detail how the flywheel will work? That's just SPS burning, similar to how.
Yeah, I think if you look at the preeminent flywheel model, which is Jeff Bezos' Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff does something extraordinary that very few human beings can accomplish, which is he understands supply at the penultimate level. Amazon is just all about managing the supply aspect of it.
Yeah.
And having the flywheel is like, and having a product like AWS push from a technology standpoint. So when you look at Splinterlands as a community, as a flywheel, right? When you look at what is that, so you look at Splinterlands, the company, and Splinterlands, the game itself, when you segment the piece. And think of like, what is the most controversial proposal you think in the history of Splinterlands will ever receive? What causes people so much headache, response, and people to be really mad? I mean, if you think people are mad now, I mean, well, what do you think is the one proposal that will cause people to be so upset?
Oh, I can think of a bunch, but I'm trying to figure out what you're driving at here.
No, just name them.
Just setting an expectation that you're going to pay for something in one currency and then switching it into another. I would say that's the biggest.
But you know that's.
I mean, that's what happened now. I mean, for me, probably one of the biggest things would be if they ever decided to print more SPS.
Correct.
I mean, that would be the biggest one. I would very much question a lot if that was ever put forward.
This is the problem, the macro problem Bitcoin has, right? And so when you have 3 billion SPS and then you're going to arbitrage and burn these SPS, you could potentially at the end of the white paper end up with 2.5 billion. And then, Agro jokes about Splintoshi, but he's not joking in a sense, because in a way, you're going to be transacting as think of half an SPS being worth $1 or $5 or $10, right?
Yeah.
Or God forbid 0.001 SPS, because when you're burning, there can be unintended consequences of these, and some of the macro unintended consequences will be that you have excessive burning. Now, what one can argue, and this is the flaw with the whole, the whole Bitcoin piece, is that when you're starting and transacting in Splintoshi piece, right now everyone's great because it's 0.5 Bitcoin or whatever. But when you're talking about equating 300,000 to 1, and you're talking about this, human beings, our minds cannot accept that. We cannot accept and transact in fractional currency denomination. And,
I mean, they're trying to get around this with rebranding it to Satoshis, right? And once you get $1 million Bitcoin, a Satoshi's a penny.
Yes, and this is why Agro's trying to do the whole thing too.
Interesting.
So he's trying to create a parallel piece to where the Lightning Network is having some similar challenges to it, and it's even if we were to talk about Splintoshi and we're talking about fractionalizing valuation of the SPS currency itself, the governance token, then it's still our human. It's Dunbar's number, right? I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of Dunbar's number, but you can Google it. Essentially, it's the number of social interaction. It's what the thesis of Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook and how he's transforming Facebook into Meta, into the whole overlaying with the IG, all that whole framework that he's trying to bridge and, burning billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars along the way, right? So, our whole framework is to ensure that human beings, we can accept non-fractional, and we're dealing with whole numbers.
Yeah, the thing is, he's even said it in a previous town hall. Again, just kind of teasing out in the future, saying maybe at some point in the future, the DAO will vote that some inflation for SPS is okay. As soon as he said that, I was like, all right, well, maybe there's a time limit on how long I play this game.
Think of humanity, right? In our history of mankind, how many products have experienced deflationary? We can say card as an asset class is inflationary, right? But in terms of think of how many instances in humanity we experience deflationary monetary situation.
I mean, we haven't really true deflationary.
There are subsets, just like cards, right? You could one of the things that Matt builds in is these reward cards, right? These reward cards are by nature deflationary because you get them for free. And there's already a DEC, you can burn them, you're already experiencing deflationary mechanism. And, it's one of the few, if you look at, the flesh golems, you look at all these cards, right? The piece that really experiences the highest increase on average in the whole Splinterlands universe, it's not these promo cards, it's not these that are being thrown out, it's these free common reward cards.
Yeah.
That's out there.
Okay, but how? I don't understand how that's deflationary. Can you explain that?
Because you get them for free.
Oh, okay. So isn't
they start out as deflationary and they only go up in time?
Oh, all right. You're talking about the value of them over time. Okay, got it.
Yeah, as you burn them, merge them to 400, and think of I don't know. I'm not in Matt's seat and Pluck and those guys, but so you have this this evolutionary curve for each generation of sets, right? You have chaos, the common, it's like you merge 400 to get a level 10, right? What's rebellion?
Oh, well, that's unknown, right? TBD.
Yeah, but think of you're in Matt's situation, right? You're charging $6 a pack plus vouchers or whatever you're gonna assess to these things.
Yeah. I don't know, but that one thing that people are complaining about is just the inflationary costs of investing into the game.
Correct.
Or playing the game, right?
Yes.
So
they're getting a bigger piece of that puzzle. They're getting a bigger piece of that pie, right? Normally that the reward would go to the people that got in earlier, right? They paid $2 per pack, right? And so as those things went up, the secondary market people that sold, those are the ones that got all the reward. Now they're claiming a little bit for themselves.
So Foyet, are you trying to say that over time, I mean, in 10 years we'll have $20 packs?
It's a Ponzi mechanism that cannot be overcome, right? So what do bots and what do new players do? How do you fight against that as a new player or as a bot?
You can't.
No, you can't. So what Matt has done is like, so before you have these cards that you know, these ghost cards, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need them. You just click and play, and it's $10 public, and you're good, right? And then now for you to kind of get the same experience, you gotta like put up $150 to be able to have these non-ghost cards that you're paying 1 BCX for that you can have running, and it takes you much longer to be able to get to that point. But then, you know, what happens is you just have a graveyard of these games, these accounts that go wild, and they're just sitting there.
I think so, and I've said this before, right? Like individual cards are deflationary, but cards as an asset class are inflationary, and that's why I don't invest in them. So is that the Ponzi kind of dynamics that you're thinking?
So what new players and bots will do is they'll focus on the reward cards because
interesting.
It's
okay, I never thought about that way. But that actually just makes me not want to invest in cards anymore.
No, I mean, I think you should invest in certain cards, right?
Sure.
So certain cards that has certain value on the market. So like, let's say Lux Vega, because one is if you happen to attend Splinterfest, which you guys did, right? So even at the $300 and you're buying the $1,000, so you automatically get a discount there. And then if you happen to I don't think people really understand the true value of vouchers, these coupon based. They're coupons, right? They're handed to people. And I think people just take them out of context and they kind of value them, not really the same way as aggro had intended. And the voucher store hasn't really been, but you know, the people who hold on to them, you know, that have thousands of them and they buy them when they're, I don't know, 20, 18 cents or whatever, they just kind of fall off the cliff, and you know, you just kind of pick them up, and then eventually you'll be able to turn in these coupons there, and you'll get a fantastic return. Like when you're talking about, you're getting something that you paid 20 cents for, and you're getting $3 value. It's pretty good return, but it's also for a unique player base too, a community base, right? Unique groups of people that really believe in the game and really want to contribute to it. So when you look at the vouchers and you look at DEC hitting peg, and you happen to be part of the few people that believed and bought into Matt's threat, and you bought DEC when it was 55 cents or whatever, 55, you know, you're really paying absolutely nothing. And then you just buy Lux Vega, and then you can either rent it out and make your money back over a very short period of time. Your ROI break even is very short, or you can just play it in a game and just get a return that way, or you can just sell it.
Well, the problem is that vouchers have only appealed to a very, very small subset of the community, which is whales, right?
I don't know if it's whales. Whales buy them, and then whales, I guess, sell them when they can.
Well, I guess. Yeah, whales could flip. But here, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is most of the time vouchers are used for only high-priced items. Yes. So only people who are willing to invest in a Waka, in a Lux Vega, in a Nodes, for example, right? Like the first time we saw vouchers really getting used, I don't count Chaos Legion because they were so new and so overheated at that point. But like you see how they are being used for, like as you said, coupons now with Rift Watchers and Tower Defense packs, and it's like, yeah, sure, people are using them here and there, but there's no other like other utility outside of like buying packs. There's nothing within the game that people can get for it, which appeals to, I guess, the mass player base outside of packs, which I guess is enough to a certain extent, but obviously not enough with the inflationary mechanism that.
But do you care? I think the only thing that they did wrong was they printed too many vouchers.
They gave it to nodes. That was a big red flag for me.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with giving it to nodes. I think it's just there's just too many in circulation. So I think as long as they cut back on that, it'll be fine. But I think if you look at the macro long term, and if you were to hold on to vouchers, or you were to be part of the group that bought vouchers really dirt cheap and under 20 cents or 25 cents or something like that, right? You were to pick up these vouchers. Think of the use case for these and the return, right? So you buy something for 20 cents and you turn around and they give you they give you $3 for them, or $2 or $1.
Oh, $5 if you're picking up a node. But
correct, $5. And think of how many returns an asset within a greenfield. I consider these greenfield because they're so new, right? They're not like part of something the OGs have to have, or they weren't. These are like level playing field as long as you were staking SPS. So think of, are these like extraordinary asymmetric return?
It is.
Think of how many Splinterland assets you can get you can get for 25 cents and turn around and exchange them as a coupon for. I mean, think of the present value for that voucher.
I mean, here's the thing, that value only exists if the demand is there, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that
will always be there.
But we haven't really seen it for. I mean, packs haven't been selling for tower. Actually, there's been a small, steady drip of packs for tower defense.
That's not the true intent of the vouchers. It's a reward system for loyalty. It's like what if you were to look at other games, you can have like Rising Star creates these loyalty token. That's what it is. It's just a value that you can cash in at any time. And you'll over time they'll come up with enough products to eat all your vouchers.
That I'm not concerned with. I think they're really trying to bank on tower defense as something that can do it in the future, or at least that's what they've teased so far.
Yeah, tower defense has a interesting economy. I don't know how they're planning to implement a lot of these. And part of it, I think anytime you had RNG and you add gambling type aspects and an addiction, you have a recipe for something that can be good.
Well, isn't that's the entire game to a certain extent?
So I do have a question and it's a game related question. I noticed, what are your thoughts on Rift Watchers in general? Because I was looking at some of your games and your collections. You don't have a lot of Rift Watcher cards. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the epic summoners, they're good for new players because they're cheaper. They're not as good in some cases. Like the water one, Kalia is still better, but Kalia is too expensive to max out compared to. So I think in some cases they're good. I think you kind of have to look at. So you have to look at two full sets, right? Four sets, one full, one mini, and you have to look at it over 2 years. So the excitement of so we have to look at Untamed and the kitties, the yodes, and all those, right? So no matter how many cards or what value you add to your deck, your current deck, without elimination of kitty, you're never going to win like huge. You're never going to get like the 80%, unless you're willing to rent, right? My win rate's never going to go above 55, 57%, not at a reasonable level, because there's this kitty and and they just kind of will crush you. So no matter what you do, right? What incentives do I have to buy these the Rift Watcher set? Well, maybe one of the incentive is when they start releasing, putting DEC to it, it might become cheap enough where I would look at it and say, okay, yeah, it's kind of,
Packs, yeah.
I'll do it. I won't buy packs, but I'll just say, okay, I need one or two specific cards that it's good. It's something that's tolerable. I'll do it. And then when Rebellion comes, when Kitty and that's a completely different conversation point now. When you have all the other cards come in, then you're like, well, the playing field's level now. It's sort of like equal money, so to speak. You can throw some similar amount of money, and you can get kind of similar return. So maybe then I should shoot for a 70% win rate on the rank system, because I can actually build now a reasonable financial deck that I can say, okay, it's not going to take me 3 years to get my money back. I could do it in 19 months, maybe 20. Okay, maybe it's a livable cost. I'll do it, right? So I would look at it more from that standpoint. And maybe it's selfish of me to look at it from just purely economics versus, I think, Darkest, you're more into the fun piece, and you'll throw a large amount of money into it.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
But that's the thing, right? We came to the same conclusion in a totally different path, right? That was the reason why I had the Kitty Fund, exactly for that reason, right? I said, I know that it'll boost my win rate. This card is absolutely dominant, and over time, I will get my money back, right? Or a fraction of it back. And I can flex every now and then. So
correct.
Right. So, but it's not something that I expect to get my money back tomorrow, right? It's a matter of fact, after Sam and I were literally having this conversation before we jumped in, right? Is, certain cards, like I bought a card recently, right? That I know just because of the bonuses associated with having a gold promo card, that's 20% right there.
Whammy.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's also neutral, right? So I'm going to play it all the time over thousands of games. Right, I will eventually get my money back or close.
You're talking about Dr. Blythe?
Yes. And I mean, and again, did I do a financial analysis of the card? No, I just know that when I win a game and I look at the percentages of a gold promo card, it's 20%, right? Added on to what I've just got. And that's just for one, right? So the more gold cards I use and the more gold promo cards I use, I'm just, compounding my rewards. So.
Yeah, this game is all about compounding, and we can choose the vehicle, the mechanism to compound. And I think everyone comes from a different, I think, initial point, and everyone will compound them differently or choose to different ways to compound in this game. And I think that's the beauty of this game.
Yeah, but I think for me, and again, you pointed it out, right? I just like playing the game. At the end of the day, I like looking at the cards. One of the things that's really changed for me over the last, Rift Watchers did it, right? Is I really feel now that I'm playing with artwork, right? Like the cards are absolutely gorgeous. Even probably one of the most crapped on summoner, right? Dallin has probably one of the best artwork in the game, right? It looks fantastic. And I will sometimes play it just because it looks cool.
So right? That's one of the number rules of investing. Lorenzo Medici, right? It's art. It's what made Florence existed. It's and a lot of people look at like actual painting or things like that. They said, what's a use case? What's the value of this, right? And people like maybe they may not remember, but let's say. The Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa was not valuable at some point. It was stolen twice. It was, but until the French and the Louvre figure out how to make it valuable, then how to tell the world its story and how to make the use case. And now they put it behind something that you can't touch. You just look at, you pay, and and the utility of the Mona Lisa is basically it's a social experiment, right? It's something that people pay to be able to see, and then to be able to meet other people and to be able to talk about the beauty of that rare moment they have in their life, to see a painting that could be valued, by Lloyd's of London upwards of $500 billion, right? The most valuable product in the world. And so I think this is where products like collectibles, like PFPs, what people miss is that eventually it will rise to that level where humanity...
not all of them, though, but yeah.
No, not all. But not everyone will become a Mona Lisa.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, for every Mona Lisa, there's a bunch of stuff that's sitting in a garage somewhere burned up, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of Raphael. There's a lot of other kind of known, but not so much known. And this is the risk that the folks, the Bored Ape Yacht Club and some of the CryptoPunk guys, and you can see the value for the Bored Ape has gone down, but the CryptoPunk has gone up. So for Yuga Labs, it was a fantastic investment for them to kind of diversify their portfolio.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I hope that they do, you guys were talking about voucher utility and even SPS utility, is, we have these newer art pieces, basically, right, from Rift Watchers, but we still have valuable cards from Alpha, Beta. And one of the things I would like to see, they started doing this, but they have the ability to reskin some of those cards, right? And those skins are no longer available, right? They were limited in terms of their distribution. I would love to see a return to that, maybe in Rebellion, because we have a new card art, right? We have the frameless cards, and my feeling is that they're gonna feel very different, right? They're gonna look very different on the battlefield, and I don't know if we'll necessarily want that, but I would love to see vouchers be used to actually reskin with the much better artwork that we've seen lately.
Sure, that would be another great use case for a voucher. And another thing is, like, one day someone at Splinterland's team may say, "Hey, for 10,000 vouchers, you can create your own card."
Ooh.
Right.
I thought that would have been a good solution to the DEC problem. It's just like if you do some kind of, we just need to burn it, right? But why not DEC?
Burn it in a good way.
Huh?
Burn it in a good way.
Yeah.
What do you mean burn it in a good way?
Allow the ecosystem to burn it with current products and new products that are kind of in parallel to the game. But if you add new mechanism to it, then you have to look at things that, from a spreadsheet perspective, Matt's calculator or pluck, you have to recalculate that dynamics.
Well, yeah, I guess I look at the SPS airdrop as being this massive thing that ended up hurting the economy, and so
it's still hurting.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the thing is, if we follow along and let the economy slowly heal, it's going to take a very, very long time, or it'll take a massive rush in of people to attempt to fix that. So my thought process was, okay, we got 6-ish billion DEC kind of in circulation.
A lot more than that, I'm sure.
Well, I have to say this real quick. Your comments are hilarious right now.
Not mine. All right,
well, just the comments in general. We're now talking about flying fish. So
we are. All right, sorry. I know. Okay, well, let's catch up on some of the chat here. So, Foyet is a smart guy. I'm thoroughly loving this conversation. So,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Virus is stacking DEC. DJ's here. Clevin's here. All right, looks like you guys are talking to each other a lot. So Ninja Pro, what's going on? I can't wait to see the data on people swapping SPS for DEC and burning SPS. That should come out soon. Foyet, you're getting a lot of love here. So
yeah, you need your. Do you have your own channel?
I've actually never done YouTube. This is the first time.
This is the first time.
Oh yeah, dude. You should definitely do yours for sure.
Do you? Okay, this is going to be such
the same thing about you, Darkestnyte.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about that here.
Here, let me put this out there. Are you familiar, Foyet, with Balaji Srinivasan? Oh, okay. He's fascinating to listen to because I feel like he's got a very wide.
I know you mentioned him one other time on one other YouTube. Yeah.
I mean, I can listen to him all day because he just has a really solid understanding of many different topics. and the way that he like references things and calls back and brings like the data. I'm trying to compliment you because I feel like the way that you've handled this conversation has been very much the same way. So it's been a lot of fun to chat.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I try to share with others, and I've tried to pass things that pay it forward, and people have helped me in the past too.
Yeah,
I say getting him together with like Tails would be crazy.
That could be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, wait. Not just Tails. Because I was thinking at the beginning, right? Man, if we just found Matt's assistant. Matt needs an assistant. Matt really needs an assistant.
You know who would be a fun conversation for you? And I got to talk to him actually at Splinterfest was Pluck. So we grabbed coffee one morning before like all the festivities started. And it was fun picking his brain because, again, obviously he wasn't releasing any information to me about like what they're planning, but just to know who's behind the game economy design and how they think was really interesting. So
I think Matt and Pluck will be two of the most important folks.
Yeah.
All right, so people still showing love. Let's see. I think I won't be DJ. Oh, so DJ was asking, will anybody be changing their votes for nodes and Rift Watchers now that DEC is close to peg? Nope. I saw that coming from a mile away.
I mean, the overriding question is, do you even need to change your vote?
I think the argument will be stronger now for it because people will want everything priced in DEC, but I don't know. To me, this is market manipulation.
Let me offer the counter to
Please.
That. So Rift Watcher is currently being sold as through SPS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say hypothetically DEC kind of hovers around plus or minus 5 of the basis point, right? It kind of fluctuates, and there's arbitrage on both scenarios. What does that do for SPS and the Rift Watcher? And for that fact, what does it do for the original buyers?
Well, it made the original buyers really angry. But the reason I don't like it is because I want the mini sets to be priced in SPS. I feel like that will be a continual feeder into the DAO for future distribution of SPS, right? At some point, we're going to run out of SPS rewards for pretty much everything. And I know the argument can be made, if you do it in DEC, then you can just swap DEC for SPS. But what that's going to end up doing is putting a lot of downward pressure on DEC.
What's the number one purpose of the DAO?
To fund the future of the game. I mean, this is our war chest, right? The community's war chest.
What's the number one function of a DAO?
To continue the game.
And how does it best continue the game?
By being fed. This is great. I love being quizzed because I have no idea. So I'm trying to figure out what you're driving towards.
So one of the things like the U.S. Treasury, right? Bond. Mm-hmm. The Fed Reserve buys bonds, right? Things like that. It causes liquidity in the marketplace. It controls and this is why Milton Friedman says, inflation is caused by Washington, and only Washington can fix inflation, right? So in essence, the role for the SPS is the DAO itself is to provide liquidity. Right now, you're paying debt. Every time you have these various liquidity pools, it's because the DAO itself cannot afford to provide that liquidity. So on a DeFi, decentralized, and we're really we're doing things on a shoestring. And one of the ways you do a shoestring is you overpay for the liquidity pairing, and whatever liquidity that's floating out there on the liquidity page, it's debt to the DAO.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's like Benjamin Franklin says, an empty sack can't stand, right? So essentially, you're basically stealing money from the DAO and hurting the DAO and continue to hemorrhage it. And until you fix that, the DAO is just whatever the value you ascribe to the DAO, it'll go up and down. And this is why the DAO doesn't get to $1, right? Because there's only so much money, but it's paying out. It's in debt. It's paying out so much in liquidity.
Well, I mean, but it's not paying anything out yet.
Oh, sure it is. It's whether it's present value, future value, because it's from the white paper, right? It's being managed from the Splinterlands, the company, Matt.
Sure. I mean, at this point in time, but at some point in the future, there'll be community proposals eligible, which again, at that point, we could really ruin the game if people decide to vote on something silly.
I don't think so. I think it's unlikely that.
I agreed. Yeah. I get okay. So
I wouldn't worry about human nature voting. We're all going to be, most of us, selfish people, and our selfish will always be for the preservation of something you invest a large sum of money. Whether I look at the highest level of our democracy, right? You have these. The Democrat and Republican parties. You have these large amounts of money, war chests that's being, and at the end of the day, it's just negotiations of these war chests. And that's really the large SBS holders. They'll just get together and they'll just negotiate. There may be a couple camps, and they'll just talk about it.
So then, just to break it down all the way to the fundamentals, are you for or against the repricing? I guess I'm trying to understand
repricing
of like Rift Watchers and nodes into DEC.
Oh, there's no choice. Anytime you can get something to be bought in the DEC, you want it.
Okay.
So
well,
that's the only way that makes sense for the game economy to be enjoyed.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't like what that's going to end up doing in the future, though, because I don't want the DAO to ever be paying out in DEC. And if it's going to be holding
the DAO needs DEC to be it's part of its operating income and expense. That's how the DAO will need to accumulate tons and tons of DEC, and DEC has to be stable because the DAO itself has to transact in that currency.
Okay. I'm actually not opposed to the DAO having. I'm not opposed to the DAO having multiple assets within it, right? I guess
you don't have a choice. It's a diversified portfolio, just like any.
It should be, yeah. But at this point, it's like we're choosing between either SPS or DEC, and if
look at it that way, though.
Well, are you assuming that there's going to be some kind of future things added in?
Well, there's going to be other assets the Treasury, the DAO Treasury will accumulate. But I think this is the question of, I think Matt threw this proposal in not to ensure that it passed, but again, it's just a threat, and so it's not. I don't think the intent is to have it passed, because I don't think Matt, in his heart of heart, really intends to hurt the original buyers of it. It's just to say, hey guys, there can be sacrifices made, and I don't expect you to make the sacrifice. Well, I understand the original hurdle, but I just want to let you know that this is kind of a preamble conversation to say, down the road, everything will be converted to DEC.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people felt like he did damage just by putting it out there.
Oh, sure. Right? Yeah.
And so a lot of people are emotionally hurt. I mean, I had an emotional reaction when it first happened. I've come around to it, even though I'm still not going to vote for it. But I understand where he's trying to go. I don't think you should vote
for it because if you're part of the community and the people that were hurt by it, I don't think you should vote for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
If you look at, go ahead. So it's interesting, right? Because when the proposals were first rumored, what did our guild do? Right? We knew two things were going to come, right? One, it was going to be brawl rewards, right? And we knew that the higher tiers were going to get a bigger slice of that pie. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're trying to push DEC to peg and you need DEC to upgrade your buildings, we went hard on really upgrading all the buildings. We went so fast that we can't even upgrade them anymore until we get the crowns, right? So, but that was a good decision. Mm-hmm. Right, because now when brawl rewards come out, everyone's going to want to upgrade their buildings. Everyone, right.
And even ours, we upgraded to level 8 hall.
Exactly, right. So think about it when you want to get to level 10, right? It's going to be a much more expensive, right, than it was, let's say, 4 months ago or 3 months ago.
Yeah, and the reality is this whole Rift Watcher DEC, it's just a side distraction. It's just something to distract from the actual large macro piece that I think other aspects of the game needs to. And it's one of the ways that, Matt can encourage that aspect of being able to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, we know it's going to happen, right? So, again, I always ask the question, right? What does the game look like a year from now or 2 years from now? And what can you do now to prepare for that? right? Getting
Yeah.
if you're in a guild and you know that you're gonna every time you do brawl and you're gonna make more SPS, you gotta be ready for that, right?
Yeah. Go ahead after Sam.
No. Sorry, finish your thought. I wasn't going
Oh,
to say
I was just going to say that while the whole DEC was going up in value like crazy, right, way above peg, I thought at one point my thinking was Matt's never going to put a stop to this, and maybe he's going to introduce some other token that will be the stable coin. And I was thinking, what can be that stable coin if Matt's not going to stop this and it's just going to keep on going up?
See, the value of the DAO is, I feel like they could have made a decision last year so that it wouldn't have done a year's worth of damage for DEC, because obviously we're still paying for it now, but they didn't have that set up back then. And one of the reasons that I stuck around with the game is because Matt was like, we put it in the white paper and we can't change it. And that's kind of what's irking me now. It's just like, oh, we made a little mistake here. We're going to change this and that and this.
It just wasn't in the best interest of the Splinterlands company.
Sure. Oh, well,
that's why. If it was hurting Splinterlands, a company like DEC is. So currently, DEC is a treasury that they take in credits to PayPal's or whatever, or other crypto tokens that gets converted at the dollar set value. And then let's say if you were to turn around and you use that same amount of DEC and you were to buy cards and put it out on the rental and you get rental in DEC, you turn around and you buy Chaos Legion packs that are devalued. That whole accounting, I don't know what they do, LIFO, FIFO, or how they do the debits and credits, but at the end of the day, it's just a huge negative bucket, and more players do that, it'll just continue to sink. And this is why they have to fix it. It's in Splinterlands, the company's best interest. They can argue and say, oh yeah, we pay based on what we receive. Yes, I get that too.
Well, I mean, ultimately you have to believe that they have a pretty sizable coffer, right, which is supposed to be company revenue, and if they're forced to liquidate that for any expenses below peg, that's going to mess, they're highly incentivized, which led to a lot of the, conspiracy theories on Discord saying like, oh, how's the company doing financially if they're like this desperate to get it back to peg, which I understand. I mean, I have no idea, no comment on any of that, but I thought it was a valid point being brought up. But it's like the arguments that they were putting forth that like, we need this in order to get the flywheel for SPS burning and all that. And just like, we're still so far away. What's the rush? Right? What's the rush? Why such drastic measures? We have like
the company's
3 or 4 proposals.
Sure, it's hurting. To what degree it hurts, I don't know. I'm not there. I've never audited the financial statement or things like that. So I just know numerically, mathematically, it's got to hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
it's interesting. This conversation has probably done more to make it all make sense than any conversation and any post that I've seen so far. Right.
That's thanks to Foyet.
Yeah, no, that's so thank you for that. But I mean, this has been a rational conversation around why they're putting forth the proposals they are, and they could have done the same thing.
I don't know. It's in leadership position, when you're part of a board or senior executive, it's
I get it.
I don't know. It's kind of comes down to the 48 laws of power.
Yeah.
The thing is, Darkestnyte. Okay, like let's say, and again, I'm not. I have no. This is all pure speculation. I'm not saying that this is actually the case, right? But a lot of people in like Mav chat or Discord were saying, for example, like, oh, if the company is this desperate to get it, like, are they in trouble? If they're in trouble, like, they should tell us, and then we'll understand. And I was like, if they tell you they're in trouble, a lot of people are going to sell out the game.
Yeah.
Like they can't do it in that way, right? So,
but the beauty, and I'm not really that concerned about Splinterlands, the company, in terms of their balance sheet and stuff, because the beauty where Splinterlands is, they have enough whales existing in the community where they can just throw projects. And I think one of the best projects they have right now is the Rooney project, and it's something that can continue to mint them more and more money. They have a 7.25 creator fee that's added to the mechanism. They're now reaching out to the Ethereum community, the open whale, and so they're. So
did
right
you
now,
did you just see that OpenSea?
OpenSea.
OpenSea is going to optional royalties now too.
Well, no, I
But
mean,
yeah, to your point, they're fine for now. But yeah,
yeah, they're fine. So one of the things, like, it's just now letting the whales come and scrape the floor, right? The Rooney, whoever wants to sell, put it up for 0.2, whatever. They're gonna scoop them up.
yeah. Let's actually go see where.
I have to give you some credit for you. This is your first time on YouTube. It should absolutely not be your last.
I do this with a lot of executives and a lot of I audit public companies and I work with,
great job, fantastic job.
Well, here we go. All right, so Oscar's in the house. Let me catch up on some of the comments here because there's been a lot of love thrown your way for you. I mean, I've learned a lot just today. So
absolutely.
Let's see who else is here. Waiting and playing till the next bull run. Yeah, so
why wait though?
Why wait?
Yeah.
Well, so to your point, right, in terms of like the team having a runway and the potential like support from whales, to me, a lot of that is even if the game starts to falter, there will be a support system to ride it through until the next wave, right? And that wave will come eventually.
I was referring to the note on the player waiting. Isn't the best time to put money in is when it's
down.
Market.
Unless you expect it to go down further.
You dollar cost, right?
Yeah. What's up, Red Ted? Good to see you here.
That's been my strategy for a while, right? Just play the game, enjoy it, gather up additional assets. Every time I play a game, I'm getting SPS. It's automatically staked, right? I mean, just the staking alone, I'm getting more assets just from doing what I do every day.
Yeah. So a day saying, bringing up a good thought here. I thought vouchers were only going to be used for metering out packs, like when they printed exactly the number needed for packs available. Since then, it seems to have lost its purpose. I agree.
When has Splinterlands, Matt and Aggie told us one thing and added or side or two different things?
Truer words have never been spoken.
You can't really take them at their exact words like that from that perspective. Well, they're more aspirational statements.
that's the frustrating thing with all these proposals too, is because now, like, at least before, I was basing so much of my decisions on the white paper, but now it's like, they're just changing stuff out 4 weeks after the sale, for example.
Yeah.
So all right, let's see what else we got. So
you used to joke with me after San about when I said, hey, I maxed out Chaos Legion or quickly wanted to get Rift Watchers done because I wanted to be behind all of the chaos, if you will, right? And again, maybe I'll pay a little bit more or maybe even a lot more up front, but a year or two from now, if the game is still going strong, I mean, I'll get a return if I decide I want to cash out. Yeah. But I don't know that I will.
Well, that's why I was asking earlier, Foyet, is like exit strategy, right? Because you and I have talked about that previously.
Yeah, I think for me where it makes sense, and I'll kind of revisit this. So the two instances that would cause me to exit from the game, one is if there's a better game or a better product for me to invest. Then it's kind of the same way where I exit a decent amount from Axie. I mean, I just couldn't exit the full amount just from, but that would be an example where there's another product. So if there's a product out there that moved from a Web 2.5, which Splinterlands is, to maybe 2.6, 2.7, then, I'll consider taking some of my SPS. I'll liquidate some of it and move it to that, or I'll add new money into the other ones. But for me to add new money to Splinterlands as a result of this new product out there that has better aspirational and better ecumenical and humanitarian source, it would be hard for me to argue against that. And I think that's why Matt's building this moat, right, this flywheel. So and I think that the Rooney is such an exemplary, it's an extraordinary product. Minus the artwork, or it's just the concept being behind that is just there's a lot that the team could have done better, but let's just say that the product itself, the concept.
Yeah, I just it sucks. I feel like this was just a sober reminder of how deep into a bear market we are.
Do you really think it's a failure?
I mean, I think that, from the team's perspective, this has to be disappointing, right? Only what 600-700 public mints on public when the
So
public bid went live.
let me ask this other question. So if I were to go up to Matt and Agro and I say over the 30-day period, you're going to sell out 6,500, would you be disappointed if it sold out in 30 days, or would you be disappointed if it's sold out in 10 days, or would you expect it to be sold out in a day?
Well,
I don't think they would care as long as it's sold out.
As long as it's sold out.
Money is money, right?
We've hit a brick wall here, haven't we?
Not really. So
2,800?
one of the, I don't know how familiar you got, and everyone may have their own experiences with these collectibles PFP on OpenSea, but typically, right now, all the people are doing is they're floor scraping. So there has to be enough. So because we minted at 0.19 ETH,
Yeah.
and there's going to have to be enough floor scraping and enough turnover for them to raise that floor price to the point where. So the other piece that I think people may not factor in is the Rooney title. So one of the ways that, and the team will probably, in some sense, I wish Matt had time to kind of articulate the various permutation from a valuation perspective, from an aggregate valuation of what the Rooney project will entail and what all the utility that will come with a typical expectation of a Rooney project, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things will be the title aspect. So the only way I believe you can get the title is you mint. So you can't buy a Rooney and get a title. And that's why when you go to the Rooney page, it shows how many Rooneys you minted.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't even realize there was going to be a title.
Yeah, and I think the Rooney, I'm trying to think of the order of titles that would add the highest valuation. The Praetorian, there's going to be, I think maybe at best one or two other titles that will trump the Rooney title. Yeah. But I think over time you'll want the Rooney title because of the economic value that the Rooney comes with will trump any other product that Splinterlands has produced to date so far. So like an example is like they can take and share that 7.5% creator fee. It's the only product that Splinterlands has that creates this flywheel effect that it generates money on its own. It's its own printing press, right? And so you can have the game, you can say, yeah, the Rooney card is just whatever, very above average. It can replace a deep lurker, it can replace something, and then neutral, kind of like one of your things, you assign a 0.25 valuation above any other similar cards if you were to kind of look at that stack alone. But when you start stacking all of its economic value and they start adding up, right? So what's a title worth? What's a Rooney title worth to someone? Right. So a title alone. So you have to enter certain land, certain neutral territory, or certain things, or it can be discounted. No warlord or landlord or can charge you if you have a Rooney title to enter their property. Things like that. So you kind of have to add that value. Is that worth $100, $200? We don't know, because that whole game economy is still being developed, right? So let's just say the bottom low end is $100, right? So when you look at the Rooney piece, just you add 100, and then you say the card itself is only 25% worth more than so that's $125 based on your math, and so that's $225. And then when you add the other piece to it, it can be delegated, right? It can be rented potentially later, and it can be used. I don't know what is that worth long term. I don't know the ROI piece of it, and you can eventually get your money back, and it has a higher market rental value because it's going to be rare. It's going to be 6,500 of these, and when you look at the Waka, when you look at some of the other cards in its class, Waka's not fair because that's a summoner, but when you look at a monster of its class, maybe it's not as valuable from a playability standpoint as, let's say, a Dr. Blythe, but a gold Dr. Blythe can't do a quarter of what these Roonies can do, right? And then when you look at when you look at the airdrop piece, I mean, you can theoretically get a sweater, hoodie, a Rooney Splinterlands hoodie, right? You can they can send it to you, and things like that. Or it can, even for real life scenario, like for instance, the tournaments that you're putting together. So because you have a Rooney and you can have a tournament in Chicago or Houston, and you can say, hey, if you're a Rooney holder, it's free for you, but otherwise it's one SPS, right? But how many times are you going to save that one SPS in a tournament? Will you say, okay, that Rooney alone, one SPS alone is worth it?
Save me, yeah. No, that's again. I guess what's tough for me is how do you price in all of this stuff that's just projection at this point, right? Or speculation. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that people were expecting, but how many people bought land last year at $500, $800 because they thought land was coming soon and land was going to offer all these different benefits?
That was just another team turd.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. And that's so the video that I did to kind of like give a floor price for Rooney's was what is its actual utility today? And the funny thing is it's not even today because it's not even playable in the game yet. But what will be its guaranteed utility? That to me represents the floor price until anything else comes in, right? People may and will continue to buy on hype, but it's like if you want to value it at what you can currently get or know that you can get in the near future, that's the price that I was trying to drive at.
So I think one of the things for me with the Roonies is I think we had a bunch of missed opportunities, right? One was not being able to mint at Splinterfest. That would have been great. But also the utility in game, right? My expectation is right when I minted my Rooney, within a day or two, I would be using it in game. That's another miss, right? But the long-term expectation is that it will have some value. And I totally forgot about the titles, right? So that's going to be a big deal, right? Yeah. And if you have more than one Rooney, I'm going to assume that you're going to get more than one title, correct?
Yes. And what do we learn so far in 4+ years with the Splinterlands leadership team? What's the one thing, common denominator, one thing we learned is whatever product they produce, whatever they do, the first run is never good.
Right.
And they'll always continue to improve upon it. And it's part of their minimum viable product, their MVP program that they provide and they build to these roadmap is that, first run, you take the risk with them. And for this is the beauty about crypto, right? Crypto gaming it's a risk basis. The earlier on you take the risk, you're becoming an investor in your product. And the longer you hold on to it, the more you have the potential to gain. And to kind of give you a little bit more after sound, maybe kind of build a framework around that. The uniqueness of crypto blockchain NFT is that for the first time in humanity, like when you look at a company's balance sheet, let's say Disney, for instance, Coca-Cola, Disney, when you look at their balance sheet, one of the intrinsic line item that they have is brand. How do you value Disney's brand, right? Now with blockchain, with NFT, you can enumerate that on the balance sheet. It's the first time in human history that you can enumerate how much a brand is worth, the social token aspect of it. You can really break down music. You can break down an artist. You can break down a lot of the components, and you can be able to share that and be able to go to market and say, this is the value, and you can roll it back into your company's balance sheet and add it as a line item.
I can tell you, we have a lot of comments about the title, but that, again, you asked a great question. How much is that worth? I can tell you that what I see, like, for example, when I see Stever's High Roller title, I'm like, man, I missed it. And how many times did you ask me after Sound, was I going to get a VIP ticket? And now I regret that I did not.
But here's the overriding thing, Darkestnyte. The Rooney title will be the only title of its kind that you can use both in game and in real world.
See,
what is that worth for you?
Are you sure we're getting a title? People are asking.
In some cases.
It's virtually impossible for them to have the most high-profile product out there and not assign a title.
And not have a title. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I just don't remember him saying it, but yeah.
Matt has not really said a lot of things, which I wish that he really like talk about the stack, right?
Mhm.
The value stack that Rooney, owning a Rooney, what it gives you, and to layer out all the pieces of it. And in Matt's defense is that he, Pluck and the team and Nate haven't really sat down and really whiteboard, put pen to paper on this.
Mhm.
And I'm only saying this based on my own PFP experience and what that can do to someone's financial life-changing wealth. It's basically, it's a generational wealth. It's a single card that can pass from generation to generation, and every successive generation will be worth more and more as long as this product, this game continue to exist. That Rooney will be valuable from every. It's the only generational product that Switzerland has ever produced.
This is getting too. It's too much hopium for me. I can't handle it.
Well,
I'm just throwing out a theoretical example that has been a use case that exists out in the market.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have I said after sound that I would give my collection goes to my kids?
No, I totally am for that, right? But there's so many assumptions that need to be made in terms of the success of like Splinterlands in the game.
But think of it, if you're them, why wouldn't you do it?
No, I agree. I mean, why are alpha packs still coveted even though those cards aren't all that great, right? At least compared to the power creep.
Correct.
So it's just the idea that they will always go back and reward people who were early adopters. And the thing is, they have the track record for that. But you have to have the belief that they can deliver.
Oh, but they've 100% always, time and time, lived up to it. It is their DNA. It's who
yeah.
I mean, it's who they are, right? And this is the only product that exhibits value in both in-game and real life. Think of that.
I have a big question for you. Why were you not at Splinterfest?
I thought about it. I actually could have. I don't know. I think the timing, and I think a part of it is
It would have been awesome just to sit there with, when we were having breakfast and to have Agro and Matt. Right? Oh, we would have said, "Hey, Matt, we have somebody we need to talk to." I mean, dude, that's what would have happened, right?
We need to make Darkestnyte. I'm gonna figure out my travel plans, but we need to make an East Coast meetup happen now. I know it's not on my usual travel path because I'm just between here and the Midwest, but I think between you, Walking Keys, Gank, Foyet, fun to just sit down and trade more ideas.
Tails is here too. Tails is in.
Oh, Tails is in Florida, I think.
Yeah. So, we're making this happen. So. In fact, where you are would be the best place because that's central to almost everybody, right? So you're in Maryland. I think Gank is close to you. I mean, that's a hop.
Yeah, he's probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from me.
Man.
All right, we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah, road trip. Now, but I have a prediction, right? I said if we do a regional visit, like after San, you think only 30 people are going to show up. I think it'll be 300 because everybody is going to want to crash, right?
I mean, it'll be open invite. The problem that I'm running into is I think we're going to do this like unofficially. So I don't know what kind of support we get from the team, but I think if we find a good spot, the thing is chatter's still open to it, but I feel like there's just the more official it becomes, the more like hoops I have to jump through.
Make it official, and
I wouldn't want to make it official either. I think so. So here's my plan. All right, just rough game plan for everybody in the chat. I would love to start doing at least a regional meetup in like the Texas area, so Houston, Dallas, and actually even go to each of these cities, right? And then Chicago, the Midwest. I would love to do at least one in each of like the cities here in Dallas, in Chicago, maybe Detroit. I don't know, depending on where we can get some kind of interest, and then gauge how many people show up. Because if people will show up for just a random hangout, then
absolutely,
I can take that back to the team and be like, all right, hey, we got 20-30 plus people that showed up.
You essentially touched on the best use case to grow the game.
Which is in person, right? Yeah, grassroots.
Yeah.
Which I think we need more people to do. Or let me rephrase that.
Bots will grow by itself.
The bots will grow by itself.
Yeah, bots will grow by itself. We have human limitations, and this game is complicated on a number of factors. And when you look at how most people play games, I would say maybe 60 to 80% play games because it's a stress reliever. It takes it's something that just distracts them from their everyday life. They're not thinking about making money. They're just playing, Pokemon Go, walking around the park. They're just doing things that they're not thinking of, like how many Pokecoins if I earn 50 Pokecoins today. They're not thinking, or they're playing Clash of Clans or Clash Royale. They're not really thinking in that sense, or they're playing Rise of Kingdoms. They're just going out beating each other's cities and attacking. They're just it's a distraction. And then you have the 20%. You have folks that are just they will sell in-game assets no matter what. They'll find an in-game economy. They'll come up with eBay, whatever. They'll sell, and then the other 10% are thinking how to monetize it long term. And then you have crypto provides the opportunity for these 20%, these NFT games, and then the other 80%, you're never really going to win them over unless the game creates a mechanism, a way that will kind of help them from a stress reliever. And when it comes to money is a huge stress. And when you have to make financial decisions, it's a huge stress. So you're adding something to something that, when someone is experiencing emotional challenges in their lives, or they're going through different stages. So, money can either help or money can hurt. But in order for money to help, like Splinterlands, let's say, even to help someone get a flight out of Las Vegas, right?
You saw that.
Yeah, Occupy, to help in that sense, because he was already in the ecosystem, the economy. So in this sense, money can help. But to attract someone into it when they're already in a situation where they need stress reliever, I think the game, and this is, I think the beauty of what Matt and Agro is trying to do, diversify into different types of game. So it could be sports game where you can kind of relate to it, where sports games don't require as much computational skills to it, versus TCGs requires a little bit more thought process into it. So there's going to be or fun games like Tower Defense, where this is why good or bad, right? Double Coconut and Hardpoint can pay less in terms of token payout, right? They can pay less, except for the original stakers. You buy the packs, you get more SPS and things like that over a period of time. But they can pay significantly less to that product because it does something to humanity that the Splinterlands cannot do.
Speaking of Tower Defense, After Sound, don't you have a pack to do as a giveaway?
I do. Yeah, you sent that, so thank you. We can. What time is it? 11:30. All right, I'm gonna have to wrap up soon. This has been awesome, though.
Yeah, you're gonna come back on for sure.
Let's see. All right, so
you can use the Wheel of Death.
I'm gonna be actually in Dallas for the next 3 days. By the way, After Sound, I forgot to tell you.
Ah, shoot. I can't make it up to Dallas this week.
It's all good, man.
But no. I mean, I'm serious. So I'm trying to figure out when is the best time to start doing these meetups, because to your point, Foyet, I just feel like that's going to be the best way to attract people, right? Like word of mouth, grassroots marketing. So for example, my cousin, I have a younger cousin who just graduated college, and he's crypto curious, but not in the ecosystem. And it's just I've been telling him about this game, and it's not that I've been playing this game. It's super fun. If you're into card games, you might like it, right? I'm not trying to push it on him or whatever, but it's it hasn't been of any interest to him. Then I was in Chicago a month ago, and we were catching up. I showed him the picture from Splinterfest, and then he went with me to go check out a arcade cafeteria. No, what is it called? Gaming cafe or gaming lounge. And I was like, hey, do you want to come with me? There's this spot that just opened up recently. Let's go check it out. I want to see and talk to the manager. That's an absolute
yes.
And so then all of a sudden, he's just oh yeah, this would be cool. I'm like, hey, if I had an event here, you don't even need to play, but would you just come out and just check it out? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, but tell me more about the game now, right? And so that's what I feel the more you do these in-person meetups or in-person things, you can bring a friend who has nothing to do on a Thursday, Friday night, just to see what the vibe is. And when they see real people there with real investment in the game and understand that it's not just, some crypto scam, which I think right now we're seeing a lot of people step away from crypto because of that. I don't know. To me, that has a lot of value.
So MetaMask is not secure, and I get it. Hive keychain, you need some kind of like a Google authenticator. You need multi-factor to the process and verification. You need to have a safe list and things like that. For instance, like Splinterlands, when you send a card to someone, there's really no like safe list that you can develop and check and initially authenticate. There's a virtual check mark in the background after you sent it. You know,
after you sent it only,
yeah. So then the game has matured, and with more money into the ecosystem, the more that can grow.
Yeah, we'll get there. Again, I'm just trying to be very conscious, especially in my videos, of like time preference, right? Which is why I always talk about like years away and wait until like the next Bitcoin halving, because I don't know, everybody wants it now.
You believe in Bitcoin halving?
I mean, it hasn't been disproven yet. So if we do stay in a macro
the last cycle has been disproven, right? It's
not really. We still did a 15x from the lows. So 2018.
If you were part of the low, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, well, okay. And this is gonna be a great conversation for another time, because it sounds like I'm a Bitcoin maxi at heart, right? So when you were talking about Bitcoin earlier and some of the flaws, I'm actually curious to know where your thought process is on that, because when we talk about Ethereum and a lot of these other L1s, I see the value of Ethereum, right? But it's, to me, ultimately, I don't understand why this stuff can't ultimately be built on Bitcoin. Why everything can't be built on Bitcoin, right?
Because Bitcoin is not a derivative.
Well, the derivative can be built on Bitcoin, is what I'm saying. Ethereum is its own chain. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It could survive. If Bitcoin went down today, Ethereum could still survive, right? And there's the argument to be made that Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized, and I like hearing that language from a lot of the regulators here in the US. But I don't know. I'd love to get your thoughts on it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's what I like about the crypto space is you're attracting some of the largest intellectual capital there is anywhere in the world. Some of the smartest people, like Vitalik, Charles, those guys. They're just some of the most brilliant thinkers out there of our generation, and they're all putting, even people like Elon Musk is he's focusing and why he just wants to move Doge to the number one coin, just to prove it can be done. Which I like that. I think there's a lot to be said about that and the opportunity. So there's a lot, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin is limited. So the reason why it's because there are more why nots. It's just more of an argument, a conversation piece. Doesn't mean that it can't change. The narrative can't change. It can change. There's just more, why not than why.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just see if there's any other comments that we can jump into. And again, for folks who are commenting, I apologize. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as Darkestnyte and I did, because
that was awesome.
We just got so caught up in it. So Ryan, thanks for coming through. You like more sound design videos? All right, I will show you more on that. So Foyet is making me think I have no clue what the DAO is. Hold on, yeah, this was accurate. My guy after sounded then lost this whole stream. It was a learning experience, that's for sure. All right, so DJ had something good here. A little bit. Hold up. Oh, some people were asking if you have land and how you value land at its current price.
I don't, because I've missed out on the $10 and $20 value, and when it was running to 500 plus and things like that, it's
too expensive.
I don't know how to evaluate it. And then currently, so I had another moment where I can decide whether to buy land or not. Was when they were paying out SPS to the land, so I had to make a valuation. And I made a couple assumptions. It just still wasn't worth it for me. So I don't know. I'll wait.
I mean, that's
the way I look at it. What's the largest most I can lose if I didn't buy, and then what's the most I can lose if I bought land?
Yeah.
So if I were to, hypothetically, for a ballpark number, if I were to throw $10,000 into land, right? What's the plus or minus if I were to buy now and if I were to wait? Because if I were to wait, I can just buy the exact land I want, the exact product I want, and then I can create based on the cards, or I can strategically acquire cards that I need to be able to match that land, and I can just buy it.
That's been my viewpoint as well. Like, I would rather pay, and I don't know what the price is going to be, but I would rather pay 10 grand for a castle or a keep than 10 grand for, I don't know, roughly
Bunch of
20
random
chances
cards.
at getting it, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a pack opening at that point. So
Yeah, and I think there's a better than 50% chance I may never own land in Splinterlands. Part of it is it's kind of like fixing at 150,000 piece, and then there's the whole FOMO piece, the price aspect. I may never be able to get it at a reasonable price that I can kind of manage, which is okay because land is not something that everyone has to have. Like I play a lot of games. Some of them I have land, some I don't. I miss out on them, and you know, it's just timing, terrible. And there's going to be common area. So what I want to focus on is the ability to harness an economic model from the common area that they will create. I know originally, like Agro said, they're not going to be a common piece, which is kind of funny because there's no in the history of gaming. There's always a common aspect of it. So I think I just hope that Splinterlands takes more good parts of Web 2 gaming. And looks at it and say, how can we incorporate? So the part of the directory of LAN is it enables Splinterlands to change from a traditional TGZ trading card to actually something that's like a mini universe that they can kind of transact in different ways and create spells, generate a different user experience. And whether I can buy into that user experience at a reasonable price, I don't know. But this is why having the Rooney is important, because the Rooney allows you to kind of operate in that common space, that common land, and that may meet my my in-game criteria until, you know, I think like all assets, there's going to go in waves. So I love passive income. I think everyone should derive significant value and be able to sustain a passive income model. And part of the ways land provides that passive income is just like card rental or any type. And if I can't get enough of a return, a velocity return from the passive income, then it's not something that I would acquire.
That's fair. All right, so Gavin Magic's saying meet up at the Chicago area. Cool. Oh, Wolfshire's in Dallas. All right, more about that. So pack giveaway. Yeah, let's jump into the pack giveaway, and then we can
Wheel of Death or Death Wheel.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, do we have enough time? Yeah, we should.
Yes. Well, football doesn't start for another 20 minutes, so
Yes.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure all my fantasy starters are starting.
Yeah.
All right, hold up. Let's see. Learned a lot today, Joseph. So did I. I need to learn more about Aptos, but I don't like what I'm seeing already, Ola. But we can chat about that more later. I mean, it could still be like Solana, but so DJ, I just wanted to comment on this because if we were to do unofficial tournaments, I think this would be the best way to go about it. Is for everybody to have a kind of like a tournament account. So like make like a DJ tournament, or I would make like after sound tournament. I would create that. I know that'd be an extra cost, and I would try to see if the team could like comp extra spell books or something for that. But then all you do is delegate your cards to that account. Then you can log in on whatever computer. If we were to play like a gaming launch, I think that'd be the easiest way to do it for something unofficial and and transferable between different places.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I thought they were going to do that at Splinterfest, but they actually had accounts available.
Set up for you. Yeah, Varus, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thanks for coming through. All right, so guys, no, please go ahead.
I was just going to ask. So, what's the purpose of these card delegation you're trying to set up for the tournaments?
Just so you have a safe place to log in, because if you're on a public use PC, you know, you don't want to be logging in on that.
So again, I'm trying to create something in parallel, or to not step on the toes of whatever Weirbeard is doing with the team officially. And it's just like, if we can get these unofficial events, unofficial meetups at these gaming cafes that have, you know, their own computers there, or people don't mind bringing computers and playing on a public Wi-Fi or whatever the case is, then we can set up these tournaments, hopefully get some official support from the team in order to get prizing for it, or maybe even space rental or something. And then eventually it's just like, I don't know how much the team wants to do ghost card tournaments. I don't know that they're going to give me the authority to set up ghost card tournaments. So it would still be playing with your own assets, but instead of you logging into your main account, you create this temp account where you could just delegate all your cards to. There'd be nothing of value within the actual account, and then you wouldn't mind logging into a public computer for that, right? Don't use the same password as your main account, right? Make a different password or something that, you know, So people do get access to it. They still wouldn't have the keys, and they wouldn't be able to do anything with the cards because it's all delegated from a second account. All right. If you guys go ahead and just make sure you comment here, we'll do a quick death wheel.
Don't do a death wheel because we don't have the time for that.
Don't do death wheel. Are you running out of time? You got to run?
Oh no, I thought you were. I mean, that'll take 15 minutes right there.
Yeah,
I'm always running out of time, but it's okay.
All right, then death wheel it is.
People want a death wheel. Let's do a death wheel. All right.
Hey, can you add me in just because? I can't comment. But...
Can I add you in?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll add both of you guys in.
Okay, excellent.
Do you have any tower defense assets, Foyet?
No.
No. Are you not a big tower defense fan?
I actually like tower defense. I think it's more of a decision how much money I want to keep throwing into the Splinterlands
ecosystem.
Yeah.
I bought another one while we were chatting just now to replace the one that we're giving away.
All right.
It's from winnings, right? It's from money that I won playing.
I mean, you're just recompounding back in, so good for you.
That's it.
I don't think that there's a wrong way to do that. All right, so everybody throw in a comment. Let's see how many participants do we have.
Yes, no such thing as a quick death wheel. Yes, Steve, yes.
I didn't actually get to ask if Foyet was into GLG. What are your initial thoughts about that platform?
I think on a macro level, it's really good. I think part of the white paper, I'm not exactly sure how the teams will be assembled because each pack, I think you have 5 cards per pack still. And I think based on the number of players, I'm not sure if it's going to cost an arm and a leg to have a team. So that's one consideration. And the other piece is, I've kind of collect a certain amount already from just staking the SBS. And so if I look at the return perspective, the next game that they have, it'll be the GLX, and then the SPS token will be able to the combined value will be able to get the new token that's going to be released. So I don't know. It's one of those things that maybe once I know one thing I can say definitively about the Splinterlands and Aggie is that the earlier you invest in them, the more that reward you'll get. So I do understand that. That's part of the things that I lose out on.
Well, I mean, I didn't buy anything from the actual pre-sale. Or I think I bought a couple packs, but I bought a bunch off the secondary market because it made sense from a return standpoint. But now with the value of the EC going up, the value on the secondary market has gone up. So I'm actually looking to liquidate a bunch of those and go back into SBS. All right, and then Foyet. All right, cool. We got 70 people. Oh no, there's a lot of blanks in here. All right, so good luck to everybody. We'll do a death wheel. Hopefully everybody commented in time.
I think the Genesis League has the highest chance for mass adoption out of all the Splinterlands products.
Agreed. Hold up. There's less people here now. There's only 26. Let me pull in the names again. Are you guys all commenting? People are behind in the chat. Sorry. I agree. I mean, just sports in general is huge. So I feel like there's a lot of people who will come in, whether it's for collectibles, whether it's for supporting a specific player. There's just a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, and video games will eventually surpass, it's already surpassed music. It'll eventually surpass sports and other mediums because it's just so much easier.
Gaming is eating everything.
Yep. Gaming, and this is why when you start adding DeFi into the mechanism, it'll eventually the folks at Aave Avagache, they used to talk about you have their little NFT, you can actually go to a European bank and you can actually exchange it for something real.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was the original thesis, and I think eventually our NFT tokens can eventually over time, and I don't know how long of a curve we have, but if we look at all the generational technology things that we've experienced, from music to television to the internet to e-commerce, and now to the NFT piece. I think it's just a matter of time that it'll eventually the adoption will accelerate.
Yeah. I am with you on that. I think it's just a matter of getting more people on board into crypto to understand the value of it.
Yeah, okay. It'll change. People's views will change, and you'll contribute. And this is why I think, like, if you look at the largest companies in the world, you look at the Apple, the Microsoft, the Google, Facebook, or Meta, and this is why when you look at what can surpass like Amazon as the world's largest company, right?
Yeah.
If you look at that, in theory, so. In a theoretical sense, really only the DAO can be created to surpass these, because there's no other company or instrument in the world that will be able
that can do it.
Because these guys are at the trillions and trillions of dollars, right? So when you get a company's market capitalization or their enterprise value to be in the trillions, only the DAO is the only mechanism that can allow you to gain enough gravity, enough force to be able to make a numerical difference.
Yeah, no, that's true. All right, so I just want to give a shout out to Max Maka. I'm sorry, you're the first loser. Not everybody's going to get
unlucky person.
The most unlucky person.
What is he winning? What is the TD card pack?
Yeah, this is a nightmare pack. Yep.
So you could come away with a tower defense asset.
Tower defense asset. It's going to get you some SPS. Wow, we're not getting rid of any of the blanks. All right, and sorry, Alex. Do you have any plans on buying into? Oh no, Foyet, you're out.
There you go. It's okay. I was just gonna give it away.
that would have been your first one.
What were you saying? Do I have any plans to?
Any plans on getting involved with the GLG ecosystem or GLS ecosystem?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna kind of do a wait and see.
Wait and see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited about a lot of stuff that they're talking about, whether it's stadiums or the different games or projects. But I agree with you. I actually haven't bought any packs yet. I said I was, and I haven't gotten around to it because it's been so slow.
I just wish the team would just kind of explain how.
Sorry, Butters.
How the cards would work.
Yeah. I thought we get more in the GLG white paper, but it really, I mean, it went into depth, but I would love to see more of, even if it's not real gameplay, it's just simulated for video. But yeah, no, you guys don't need to keep commenting. There was a period to comment, and if you missed it, I'm sorry. We got 27 people left though to eliminate from this wheel. So BB Omega, what's going on? Sorry, go ahead.
So the fun thing about the Genesis League is one, it involves a human athlete, a real player. So one of the things that they can eventually, how like Rising Star, they're doing the with the musicians, you can
NFTs.
Buy into it. So one of the social token for these real athletes, like let's say if you're an A-tier athlete, you're always going to get this deal. So a game like Genesis League would not necessarily, it may augment in small, minor increment, but where it kind of helps to uplift a lot of the lower tier athletes would be the social token aspect of it, where you can actually gamble and buy stakes. So part of the Genesis League is to create these tokens. So you can buy tokens to like their shoes, their their different aspects of, or you can buy into they can have their salary, their career, things like that.
Yeah,
and you can get a piece of them as an athlete, and then you can see who are the rising stars, and then you can be early, and then you can bet on them, and you'll do very well.
I hope that the partnerships that they are able to do with the players can actually present some kind of like value to both the players and the community. I don't know how involved the players are going to be, but it sounds like they're trying to do individual like marketing campaigns with them. But if they can and really pull in a lot of the very rabid fan bases for these individual players, that could do so much, and they could really leverage that.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of economy.
Sorry,
and
Yeah.
economy of scale. So like when you look at a similar game like Upland, for instance, a property a monopoly game, as they partner with the National Football Player Association, right? They do all these different NFTs, but they didn't have enough money in their war chest to be able to take it to the next level.
Take the next level, yeah.
That's where it dies, and that's principally my concern with GLS. One of the biggest risks is that
Sorry, you don't get it back, Darkestnyte.
you don't get your own pack. Yeah, so I just don't know.
Well, GLS is the only one, or GLG, I should say, is the only one that I'm expecting to be delivered in some kind of estimated timeline, because I would assume they want to get it out by the start of next season, or right after the start of next season. If they don't, and they miss out, if this is going to be a seasonal thing, that's going to be a huge miss for the team.
So actually, I have a bunch of friends that are into football, soccer, and they say they're definitely interested, but they would probably start playing around the World Cup.
Well, that's coming up later this month, except we don't have a game yet. So, sorry, Stever. All right, we're getting down to the top 12.
So, just out of curiosity, Darkestnyte, if there's one thing that the Winterlands team can do or make a change that you would be absolutely thrilled with, well, what would that be?
Well, of course, land, right? That's one. For me, they could fix Waka.
I don't know what's gonna happen. Sorry, Karen.
That's just something going on there. No, I would say just execute on the roadmap, right? I think the roadmap is good. If you're going to delay, just let us know you're going to delay. But I think they're doing a great job, right? They pulled it off. They did some amazing things with Splinterfest. I think that was the beginning of, the next iterations of what the community is going to look like. Just do what you say you're going to do. Execute on the roadmap. I don't think there's anything specific I really need. I enjoy playing the game. I play every day. So I'm not going to play any less unless everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
So you're in technology, right, Darkestnyte?
Yes, yeah. I build data centers.
Okay, beautiful. So when you so you build what size data center?
Enterprise.
Like
so
larger. Do you build it from scratch, or you put it into?
No, just the infrastructure. So servers, networking, virtualization, hyper-converged infrastructure, things like that.
Gotcha. So you would use one of the national data center brand?
Sometimes, yes. So I do what's called a hybrid infrastructure. Some of it's going to be on-prem, and some of it's going to be a colo. So it depends on what the needs of the clients are.
Gotcha. So out of all your data center projects, let's say the initial project plan that you built out, what's the likelihood that you hit all of those milestones?
And almost none, right? Which is why I don't get upset.
Right. So then what do you do? How do you do those change tickets?
So you just reset expectations, good communication with your clients, execute on a communication plan, things like that. In fact, after Santa and I talk about this, right, early on, we were like, man, most of the community doesn't know what a development cycle looks like, right? And I don't manage developers specifically because of this. It's like managing artists, right? They'll get to it, and it's not quite right, and
it'll never be perfect.
So
it'll never be perfect. Right.
You know what I ask every CIO or CTO? I said, knowing that you're going to make changes to it, you're never going to hit it. Why do you bring up these aspirational project plans?
Because they have probably some pressure from their stockholder or stakeholders, right? And they've set expectations to their organization, right? Yeah. So I tell most, again, I've been doing services for about 35 years or so. So I tell, and we all joke about this, right? You can get three things, right? You can get it cheap, you can get it on time, or you can get it done right. Pick two. And that's it.
Yep. The triangles of PMP.
Yes.
All right, we're down to the top 5, so I want to focus on
Nice.
this for a quick second. Let's see who's going to win. We got Ameo, Icy Float, New Age, Red Ted, and Willie Santiago. Sorry, Red Ted.
So I know who I want to lose because they beat me in one of the games yesterday.
Was that Icy Flow?
No. I haven't played Icy Flow in a while.
Yeah. Who beat you then?
You'll see if he wins, I'll tell you. Or she.
Well, there goes Willie. Goodbye, Willie. We're down to the top 3. Somebody's going to win a pack here, and by extension, some SPS. Not Ameo. Was that the one?
Nope.
Oh, interesting. All right, so there's only one more since you said no, Icy Flow. All right, so Icy Flow and New Age. Here we go. Place your bets. It's a 50-50 bet. That's as good as you'll get when it comes to RNG.
Oh.
Revenge is mine!
Oh, man. That must be even sweeter since you're the one that donated the pack. All right. Well, Icy Flow, make sure you thank Darkestnyte. I believe your IGN is just Icy Flow, right? If you could confirm it for me in the chat.
Hey, how's everybody's season going, by the way?
Are you asking me or the chat?
Both. I'm just asking everybody.
I made it up to diamond. Oh, see, look at that.
Look at you, man. Nice.
Wait, did I go up to diamond?
Yeah, you're in diamond.
Yeah, it says keep playing.
Yeah, man. You'll keep going.
Oh, yeah, shoot. I didn't choose to accept this earlier. Maybe the bot did.
Well, yeah, your bot will. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wait.
Whatever.
We don't call them bots here. We call them droids most of the time.
No, they're bots.
Yes.
They're bots. I want all of the stigma attached to it.
No. I love my automated gaming assistant.
Automated gaming assistant droid.
When we first implemented Archmage, I called After Stand Up. I said, dude, I got my life back. I went out for a walk today and I'm running again. You know, I'm going to the gym. Like everything is back to normal. Thank you, Archmage.
Nice.
I wish they would create like a safe list.
Yes. This was awesome. This was definitely awesome.
Yeah. All right.
And look at us at 2.5 hours.
I know. Well, so Darkestnyte, thanks for coming through. Foyet, this was awesome. You are more than welcome to join us anytime. Yeah. Conversation was phenomenal, and I know a lot of people on the stream. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the comments, but people really enjoyed your perspective, and so I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah, likewise. I definitely enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and we'll end here. Yeah, Butters, it's football time, and we'll see you all soon. So congrats again to Icy Float. Take care.
Yep.